welcome to episode 4 of the Keep Making podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Mike Quist. Mike Quist is the founder of Stone Coat Countertops. You've been in the game for about 3.5 years, 4 years doing Stone Coat Countertops, just as the business?
The business, I've been installing epoxy for years and years, but we started our web store in January 2017.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know who he is, and I think most of the people on this podcast should actually know who you are at this point because of what you do, this company went from nothing into a subscription on YouTube of about 450,000 at this point. You guys have grown like absurd amounts, like 100 to like 150% in some years. Like you've had like wild growth.
600%. And
oh yeah, see, I'm like way underselling. So like the kind of that people don't really understand. And one of the biggest reasons why I'm excited to have you on the podcast is to actually talk to you about things like podcasting, things like YouTube, things like how you actually grew this business. Because like the whole theme of the podcast is people creating their way through life, and you've done a lot of that at this stage. It obviously, like, it wasn't always like the tip of the iceberg, which is the success moment that you're having like right now. Obviously the base of that mountain is a heck of a lot different. Right. But I'm really excited to kind of ask you about that journey, hear about it a little bit, but also then dive into like some of the more fun stuff that I get excited about, like podcasting and YouTube and all this other really great tools that you've really used to succeed.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, bro. Of course, man. Thank you. So, first questions: why did you even get into this business in the first place? So, by this business means Stone Coat Countertops. Like, how did you decide like this is it?
You know, I've been doing construction better part of my life. I grew up working with my father in remodeling trades, and my brother and I installed granite for a lot of years, and I fabricated granite countertops. And I understand that granite is out of the reach for a lot of folks, whether it be they just don't want to spend that much on their kitchen. They'd rather go on a vacation, or they can't afford it. They got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's their first home. They can't afford that high-end stone look. And so when installing that, you were really limited on your customer base. So we started doing something that we thought would be less expensive, which was concrete countertops. And I learned a lot about epoxies and resins and polyurethanes and polyaspartics and top coats and how to play and manipulate color. But I realized I didn't like any of the epoxies I was using at the time. And so just got on the journey of learning about the chemistry and learning about the characteristics. And then we really got connected with some chemists that would work with us. And then I learned how to use epoxy for my own projects that I wanted durable, I wanted heat resistant, I wanted scratch resistant, non-yellowing. It had to be a 1-to-1 ratio. It had to be easy to use and replicate, consistent. And then I got into it because I'd go to home shows, and every contractor at that home show would want to know how I was doing what I was doing, because our booth would always be packed. Okay. Which told me the price point was right and the customer base was right. And so because of that, I kind of hit it. I hit it to my chest, and I wouldn't tell contractors, and I had that aha moment of why not?
So wait, can I pause you right there? So like you just touched on something that I think a lot of people in our industry and other industries, I mean, pretty much anybody that makes anything, there has that moment of like, oh, I want to keep this to myself, right? Instead of share it with the world. But for you, I mean, I know you're getting there, but like, I want to just highlight that moment, because that's a lot of people do that, but you learned, oh, wait, I need to do something different here.
Totally. You know, that method of operation doesn't work in 2020 because of the internet. Like,
there
information wants to be free, man. It has to be free. And if it isn't, the person who makes it free and tells you how to do it, it took us years and years of beating on our craft until I understood how to replicate stone, until I understood what you can really do with this medium, what the limitations were and what they weren't. And so I learned something new every day. Like the project we worked on today, we learned something new. And so we just started showing contractors how to do this, and we got it to a point where it was so easy. I knew do-it-yourselfers could do it. And I was a little nervous because you don't want to put something into a market's hands that you can't teach them how to do everything about it. And so I was probably a little slow of bringing it to market, but I'm glad I did it that way. I didn't jump the gun on not knowing what I had in my hands. And so we did bring it to market, and the rest is kind of history, man.
So when you decided to bring it to market, you were like, hey, let's start a YouTube channel. But like, let's actually, there's a story behind like you used to do classes, right?
Yes.
Like how to teach contractors. And was there, I think I heard this when we went out to Oregon not too long ago, and you're like, one person came to your class or something like
It was
that.
actually,
Like, can you
it was videos. I built, because all these contractors were asking how to do it. So I said, you know what, I'll put a video series together to teach somebody how to do this.
Okay.
And I'm going to charge a lot of money because it was so much work
Right,
to learn.
Right, and you're giving away everything that you've built, spent a lifetime acquiring all this knowledge. So you're like, this is worth something.
Yes, and my wife would not let me give that away. You know, she's like, no way, you're going to sell that for a lot of money. And so we put a pretty, we try to charge $2,000 for our videos.
Okay.
And,
I mean, that's a lot of people do that. I mean,
They
like, there's
do,
still
and-
there's plenty of classes online. There's plenty
sure.
of like, you want this knowledge, you got to pay for it.
For sure, and I get that, understand it. The problem with it is, for my trade, was you saw the end result, but you didn't see how to do it. And so to convince somebody they could learn through these videos and tell them that you're going to charge them a couple grand for it, it was a reach. And
Yeah,
and
because they have to have a lot of trust with you, and like that's a hard sell just out the gate.
For sure. And so I didn't do well with that. I struggled, and I actually took all the samples that I made and was so frustrated. I put them in a pile and lit them on fire. So I quit a number of times, man, and just got frustrated.
Right.
And then my wife went to California to help her mom. Her mom had a ankle injury and had to be off her foot for a while. And so my wife went down to help her, and I rebuilt the website, and I started posting those videos for free, and realized, like, if you teach people for free, give, like Gary Vaynerchuk, give, ask, don't expect. And you just cross your fingers and hope they support you. The folks who watched my videos realized the product that I was using, they wanted their hands on. Our best compliment was always guys who'd used epoxy for years and years and goes, what is different about your stuff? I love it. And then the word, I mean, because the internet is a small community, really, it's brought the world tiny. People talk, and so that word spread like wildfire. And then I realized if you can teach somebody through a video legitimately, where you give them all the information so that they succeed. And the nice thing about this product is it looks better in person than on a video. So because of that, when they did their own project, our reorder rate was giant because they loved what they saw.
Right. And that, you really hit on it. I mean, like, the things that I really love about this medium, I mean, the internet in general, is that the people that provide a ton of value, like, selflessly in some situations, and like there should be an ask at some point because everybody's got to eat.
Right.
But you learned that, oh wait, that when I give this away, people love it even more and actually trust me a heck of a lot more. So like your product that you're using, they'll inherently trust that product as well.
Yeah, you know, that's what we found. And I looked at it where I was coming from as a contractor. I would do research and get on forums and learn and read books, all the 1, 2, 3 books from Home Depot. That's how I learned to do plumbing and electrical.
Dude,
you know?
that's awesome.
But that information was so valuable to me that giving that away, it was hard for me to do because it was, it's all I knew at that point. And so giving that away, it paid so many dividends back because I gave it away. People understood what I gave was worth a ton. You know, countless businesses have been started because of that information.
Absolutely. So maybe, since we're still on that subject, maybe give me a highlight of some of those businesses that you like are most proud of, like hearing maybe even like the stories, because I know that people, you still help contractors start their own businesses, and like with the videos, literally anyone could start their own business of like installing their own countertops for other people, because all that information is there, and you have how-tos of every single step of the process on your YouTube channel. But there's got to be some stories over the years for you that have just been like hit real close to home,
For
of
sure.
like people that like either you knew or friends of a friends, or even like complete strangers that like really made your heart sing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm getting the chills when you say that because it's going all.
I'm getting goosebumps because I felt like I could see them on your arm too. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's honestly the why. Like that's our why is that phone call you get from a guy who's a veteran who's been through hell and doesn't know what he's going to do with his life, and he finds our videos and starts creating a river table and realizes he can do this and starts his own business, and then supports his buddies, and then you got the guy who's in a truck his whole life and his marriage is falling apart and he needs to be home more and finds a way to do it and uses our products to start a business. And then you got the lady who's on a fixed income, and she's alone, and she starts an art program, and she starts teaching classes on art, and she starts selling her art online. And you got the husband and wife who start a business together, and now they're able to be able to adopt a child because they have enough money to do that. And I mean, the stories are they're fantastic. We don't really talk about them a lot on our channel because I don't want to take away from how special those are, because I don't want people to think I'm using that for marketing. But
no, absolutely. But
and I know that's not what you're asking, but those are what keeps us rocking on this thing, man.
Yeah, because you actually know you're making a difference, and I actually think it's twofold. You know, like, in order to be really selfless, you actually have to be pretty selfish. Like, because like you're kind of full, from my perspective, and I've only got to hang out with you a couple of times now. You seem to be fully yourself, and you also are making something that is in line with all the things that you've learned from since you were really young, and since your dad was in construction forever. All the way up to now, like you're a good communicator. You actually know what you're doing. You've kind of taken all these different facets of your life and put them together,
right?
And like are really okay with it. And then you're like, oh, I can show other people how to do it, and like it makes me feel good to do that.
Yeah,
and like that to me is like the good part of it. Like in order to be selfish, you have to actually be self-aware enough to go, oh, I like this.
yeah. I think I never thought of it that way, but that's a great point. And you know, if you are doing something that you believe in, it does come natural. And it certainly doesn't help that, I mean, it certainly helps that when you realize the difference, the needle moves when you get better at something. So if we got better at a video, we sold more epoxy. And that highly motivated us to get better at our craft. It highly motivated us to help more people. And if you get benefited by helping people, what kind of a better job is that? You know?
Dude,
that's pretty cool.
It is very cool. Okay, so let's take it back now. So I highlighted, well, one of the first moments when I went out to Oregon, I met your dad first out of anybody, because we went to the wrong place, because you guys have a secret base where you create your videos that we didn't know about. We didn't know that there was another location, so we went to the shop where you guys ship out all your product.
Yes.
And your dad was the first one to talk to me and my buddy Jordan. And he was just telling me stories of how you guys got started and how quickly you grew out of your spaces. But also then he went on all these stories about you and Mitch in college. And like he just went on a wild ride of stories. And I was like, I have so much information about Mike that I never thought I was going to have. But it was all really great. And obviously, like, he's got giant hands. And when he squeezed my hand, I'm like, he could kill me in like 3 seconds. And he's an older man. But he was also really gentle.
Yes.
So the reason why I want to go back is because, like, where did you learn how to be kind to other people like this? Because, like, and actually put stuff out there that is selfless, because, like, it is hard. And, like, I know you obviously got frustrated, but, like, was it from your parents? Was it, like, how did you arrive at this? And, like, I say I want to take it back, because generally it starts when you're young.
Yeah, right on that. Great question, too, man. That's, you know, you're getting me emotional, man. But no, honestly, my mom and dad, you know, my dad told me as a kid, he had so much belief in me as a kid that I didn't have in myself. I was very self-conscious and kind of picked on and stuff as the fat kid a lot in school. And he told me, don't worry, you know, it'll
work out.
They got me in sports, and they got me really interested in, you know, athletics and competition. And my dad was always so supportive. I got into wrestling, which gives you a lot of confidence, a lot of respect. You learn how to win, you learn how to lose, you know. And then, I remember our family did not have a lot of money growing up. My parents, I have 5 brothers and sisters. My parents always took care of needy children, and so we'd usually have 12 kids in our home. And so you learned how to share. You learned how to share your parents, and then I also learned how to work, because every Friday night we'd play football at the football games, and Saturday morning we'd get up and go to work with Pops so that he'd have enough help to get his job done. My dad, you know, was always working construction, and he taught me at a young age that you get paid for your value. And so when we helped him, he'd pay us like a man. And so in high school, I knew it wasn't easy for him, but like he'd pay me $100 a day. And at that time I was like, holy cow, all my friends are working $4.25 for minimum wage, you know? So that was really, really cool. But I watched him work, and I watched how he interacted with his customers. And we were actually doing a project for Eddie Murphy's house. My dad's an artist, man. He can make leaded glass and beveled windows, and he was doing all the windows for Eddie Murphy's house.
Holy cow.
And they asked him to make like a fish tank with this curvature glass and like a cabinet and everything that matched his windows. And they asked if he could, the lead contractor asked if he goes, yeah, I could do that. And I remember on the way home, I go, Dad, have you ever built a fish tank before? He goes, no, we'll figure it out. I'm going, you kidding me? Like, so he taught me, you can figure it out. And he taught me not to say no, but to be honest. He goes, yeah, we'll figure it out. And he was upfront with the folks, but he figured it out. He built this crazy fish tank with chillers and all these pumps below because they didn't want to hear the noise in the hall that it was in. And
oh, wow.
I mean, it was elaborate, but he did it, you know.
That's awesome.
But I learned all that. I learned first not to be afraid to talk to adults, to look at them in the eye and shake their hand and carry on a conversation and be polite and open doors for the old ladies and treat women with respect and share and all these things from my parents. And I owe them everything for that. And now my mom and dad, they both work with the business. And,
dude, how good is that feeling?
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's where when I was so happy that he was the first person that I met, and also the fact that he was working in the shipping department or leading the shipping department.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I think
he runs it. Man.
He runs it. Yeah, so it was just a cool moment because like to me that was like I think this says more about Mike than any of my questions that I could ever ask him. The fact that your dad was working there and also like clearly proud.
Yes.
Like super proud. And because not everybody can have their parents work with them.
No, my dad is one of my best friends, man. My brother works with us. He's one of my best friends. So, you know, my dad is actually one of my mentors. And so every time I'd do a move for the business and things that I was thinking about, I'd go over because we actually, he lives on my property. So I'd go over to his house and I'd run things by him and see what he thinks. And so he's been there for years and years. I mean, we built this behind the scenes for years, and he's so supportive, and you know, he saw it come to fruition, and it was like Babe Ruth calling the shots. You know, we would do something and it would work. So it's cool. The
one thing that I did get a chuckle because like any good father, they have like their super proud side, and then also like, you know, I definitely had I built some of this, and he was telling me about these old sales tapes that he had that you would take and listen to. Now I got to know about these sales tapes because like you were young when you took these sales tapes because this is like what he did for a living. I don't even know what they are, but he's like, you would take take one and be like the next day want another one. And he's like, well, sure, you can have all these tapes.
You got a good memory, man. Like you really listened to him. Zig Ziglar, man.
Zig Ziglar.
Do you know who Zig Ziglar is?
I don't know who Zig Ziglar is.
The audience will know, man.
Is it like Tony Robbins type?
Yeah, but he's like the pioneer in the whole thing. Man.
Okay,
he's a motivational guy. So you love personal development. You love
absolutely.
Listening and you know, you really, your life jacket is your personal development. It's what brings you to the top in the storm, right? So if you, whatever you put in your brain, whether it's videos of cats or personal development, you're going to get back out. So I've always believed in, you know, if you're going to be an athlete, if you're going to be competitive, you have to input the good. You have to digest. And, you know, if you listen to bad music that's screaming at you, you're going to be kind of in turmoil. And so when I was young, I mean, even in high school, my dad, he went to like some of these motivational or sales conferences and stuff. And he had these, he bought these 12 tapes from Zig Ziglar. And those tapes,
dude, which is so great because like that, for me, it put me in a context. My dad was in radio for 21 years and there was tapes everywhere at our house. So anyways, keep going.
You know tapes. So I had this little Walkman and I'd go jogging on the roads where we lived. And he gave me one tape, you know, because he knew kind of what I liked. And he threw that to me. And I thought it was the only tape in the whole series. So I thought it was just this one tape. And so I damn near memorized this tape, but I loved it because Zig Ziglar was so positive, and he used voice inflection. He would talk really fast. He had this southern accent, then he'd slow it down to bring you in. You know, I mean, just all these things that were just teaching you how to present, but in a way that you weren't realizing that's what you're learning, you know? And so I loved it, and my dad realized how much I loved it, so he threw me another one. I digested that. Then he said, hey, man, I got a whole set, and it was like Christmas.
So you were just like, yeah!
Gave it to me. So then I got into a bunch of different motivators like that, and I think
How old were you?
I was like 16, 17.
Okay.
You know,
awesome.
And then I've been into that my whole life, but now I've kind of translated. I work with the young men group for our church, and I'm a wrestling coach, and that all really helps in life. It helps you raise kids. It helps you just be a better human being. You know, learning from some of the best, most positive people that you can, and then what will work for your own personality and make it part of you. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, when it comes to the talking fast and slowing things down, like, is Zig Ziglar your how you learned how to do You Got This in your videos? Is that the root cause of like how you can present in videos? Because you have a big personality on screen, and I mean that as a big compliment. Because like YouTube is the Wild West when it comes to the kinds of content that exists on YouTube, and you've been able to stand out, and like, not just like kind of stand out, like when you go to like a vid summit or where you go somewhere, like people know who you are.
Sure.
But I'm wondering, like, so where did that come from? And me, this whole time, since I heard that story, I was like, it's Zig Ziglar. That's where he got it. And I don't know, but like that part of me wants to get, like, obviously it's all in there too. But I was like, where did that train of thought take off? Because like that's a certain presentation style.
Zig Ziglar is the root of it, but honestly, my first 100 videos were horrible. Horrible. And they're still like, I watch them now, I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. Shut up, you know. But honestly, it's giving you the courage to not care, just to press record, to know that what you do is gonna suck, but that's okay. You have good information to give. And as you get better and better at because I edited my own videos, you're like, man, shut up. We got the point. And I was really hard on myself, but I treated it as it wasn't me. And I just, and I think because of auditing myself over and over again, it got me better. But Zig Ziglar was absolutely how I started my business. So I started my construction business where I had to go in front of people and ask them to support my business and buy my services. But then I realized the power of video. I would take video clips before and after of all my projects, and then I'd burn a DVD. So I realized, how do I set myself apart from the competition? Well, it's not hard. If you show up on time and you're sober, you've beat 90% of them, right? Now the last 10% of them, if you show before and after pictures, that's great. That's worth 1,000 words. You show a video, it's worth 1,000,000 words. And so I would drop my DVD in my customers' hands after I'd give a bid. They'd watch my before and after, and I would convert dang near every sale. But I learned from Zig Ziglar's tapes how to present, how to talk to people, find out what they want, find out what your customer wants, how to help them, and that's what I became. And it wasn't an act. What you see on the videos is how I would sell it to a customer or teach somebody who wants to learn how to do this.
Right.
So yeah, that's
well, and you're a good teacher. So one of the people on my team is Jordan Shepard, who's going to be on the podcast soon, and who'll be in all of our videos that you'll see on this YouTube channel and other spots. You taught him how to do the countertops once, and he's now off to the races. Yes. And like, we're working on this project together this time, and he clearly knows what he's doing already. And I was like, and you taught him when we were out in Oregon for the first time, and he picked up right away.
Yes.
Also that what you said about the just hitting record and going. That's why I'm really glad he's part of my team. He knows that you can just jump instead, and not necessarily worry about how you're going to land, because sometimes you're going to land on your feet, and other times you're going to fall on your face.
It's a video, man. What's the worst that can happen? And I think most importantly, be authentic. You know, let your audience know what they're getting into, set expectations, and when people see that, they're so grateful for the knowledge, because you're giving them a learning curve. You're giving them the permission to try, and when they try and they realize, like Jordan, oh my gosh, I made something I highly doubted it was going to look this good, and that was fun. We heard Jordan today say, man, this is just so much fun. It's so much better
he got
than
into the
sitting
flow.
in meetings,
Yeah,
right?
dude, he got into the flow big time. Jordan has this moment where like he'll like zone out, and it's very clear that he's just enjoying what he's doing from the work.
Yeah.
And like I saw that I think we might have all noticed, because he was just like really grooving with what he was going on, and that was cool to see.
It is.
So all right, so I asked you a bit about your childhood. So you work with your brother.
Yeah.
And I have been so curious about this relationship dynamic, because you guys are so different.
Yes.
You're very different. It's so good to hear that you guys are like really good friends as well, and it's clear that there's a lot of love there. But I have 7 brothers.
Wow.
So I'm from a big family. When you said there's like 12 kids at my house, I was like, well, I had from a family of 12. Yeah. So I know all about that.
Yeah.
But how has that dynamic been? Because it's sometimes really hard to be real work that closely with family. And how have you guys navigated that? Because like the reason why I asked that question is because people that will hopefully be listening to this podcast are going to be creating their way and potentially like embarking on their own journeys of creativity. And sometimes family can be the first barrier, and that's not always the case. Sometimes people come from really loving and supportive families and that very encouraging, but sometimes it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Where like the first person they got to get over is a sibling or a parent or a partner or whatever. So like those family dynamics vary wildly. So curious how you've navigated those waters with your brother.
Fantastic question. You know, Jonathan Kane, who's the CEO of Polytech, who now is our boss, right?
Yeah, he's the one at the top.
He said something to me when they were looking at buying our business, and he said, you know, family business is awesome. And I was surprised that he said that. You
Really?
know? And he goes, or it's horrible.
Ooh.
And I go, yeah. He goes, but when it's awesome, it's because the family's awesome. And when it's horrible, it's because the family doesn't get along. They don't work well together. They have these feuds. And my family, no different than any other family, has had its ups and downs. But we've learned one huge thing, and that's don't get offended. When you don't get offended, don't get your feelings hurt, and you're willing to take criticism, it's the worst thing in the world to be a son and be like, Pops, we can't do it that way. Like, I'm so out of my element when I have to tell my dad, can we do this way? But my dad's like, sure. Where we've totally role reversal, you know, but because he knows I love him and respect him, but I'm just trying to do what's best for the business, no problem. My brother, you know, we've always installed and worked and done construction, and now we're in this creative atmosphere of making content, which is another kind of construction, but it's intellectual, right? And so you got your heart and soul in that work. And so if there's something that I want changed, you can get your feelings hurt
real quick.
And so he and I, when we were working, we had our business together for 3 years installing countertops, and we got in 0 arguments.
Really?
And that's damn near impossible.
How is it? I mean, I get in arguments with my siblings.
It's because we respect one another.
Okay.
And damn, I wouldn't want to piss him off, right? He's huge.
He's a big man.
but we respect each other. And then this business, there's so much stress at sometimes that we have gotten into a few arguments, but we're quick to just hug it out. We're quick to keep going. And I think the whole don't get your feelings hurt is both sides. Like, I have to be, I love it when I'm not the smartest one in the room. If you are, you're in the wrong room, right? So because I've built a team around me that's far smarter than I am, it's made my life awesome. And he's one of those people. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I've just been super curious. I mean, obviously, like I've gotten to float around this universe for a little bit. So everyone that I'm meeting, I'm like, I've got so many questions.
Awesome, man.
So
well, you're in a good universe. You're in a universe of creative people that have not been afraid to put it on the line. You know, and it shows when we come to places like this, man. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Look at what's been built.
Yeah. Oh, it's really fun.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. And for those of you that are wondering, we're in Galesburg, Michigan, where all the companies, the shipping is based out of. So
yes.
Yeah. Speaking of this place, when's the first time you had a conversation with Mike Fopple? Because he's the head of the consumer side.
I didn't have a conversation till after we joined up with Polytech.
Okay.
I'd actually been a fan of Alumilite for a long time. And the reason that I was willing to talk to Polytech was because they owned Alumilite and because I respected that company. And I respected, and I trolled Mike Fopple on his LinkedIn. And, no, I think that,
I can't
that
wait
guy,
for him to hear this.
he's one of the most honest, nice people I've ever met.
Yeah, I can back that up.
Oh my gosh,
I can back that up.
man.
I mean, he's my boss. Yeah.
He's you know, when I had my hip surgery and he was out there, like, he's opening the doors for me and making sure I'm good. Like, I felt like I was on a date with him because he was like so kind and caring to me. I was like, this guy's cool, man. Just a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got a lot of respect for it. So I also know that this world in general fascinates you, not just when it comes to like I'm probably going to butcher this language, so just heads up. Like the epoxy countertop stuff, like the different kinds of resins that are out there.
Yeah.
But like, you're also interested in the mold side of things and like what is possible there. I know you've got a lot of projects brewing in your brain.
Yeah.
So many that you probably won't be able to get to all of them before you die.
Right.
But can you let our audience know a little bit of some of the things that you're really excited about because of all the new partnerships and all of us working together and that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about it, you know, Polytech, you know, Alumilite, Pro Marines, ETI, these were some of my competitors. And, and what's so nice is they have strengths that I don't. You know, I'm a contractor who learned how to use a computer like 2.5 years ago. And these folks are brilliant in some of these things that we really suck at. And so I'm super excited to be a part of a company that lets me double down or triple down on my strengths and takes care of my weaknesses for me. I'm super excited to have the knowledge base that Mike has between his 2 ears on epoxies and resins and urethanes and top coats and foams.
That dude is wicked there.
He's absolutely willing to help, but you got to kind of pull it out of him. He won't act like he's the smartest one in the room, but he is, you know. Just so it's so cool to have that. Like, anything that Mike can help me with, he's helping us with. I love his dyes and his
he'll
tints.
dive right in too. He's one of those people that are like, oh, we're doing this, or here we go.
Yes, I love that. I love it. And his family's fantastic. And so I'm excited to one of the projects I'm excited about is I love paddleboarding, and I love the ocean. My kids want to learn how to surf, and I took them to the ocean, and a friend of ours was teaching my kids how to use a paddleboard to get to the wave.
Oh,
because
that's cool.
It's a lot easier than learning how to paddle to the wave and then pop up. I mean, but if you could paddle to the wave,
then you could just ride it.
It's a little easier. So we start looking at paddleboards, and man, they're like $2,000.
They're no joke.
For a legitimate paddleboard. So we're like, let's make a paddleboard. So I started looking into EPS foam and closed cell foam and kind of how to do it. And I'm doing some research because I'm going to make a paddleboard. I'm going to use Stone Coat to make this paddleboard. But Mike sells foam, you know, that you make yourself. You know, I'm like, yes, let's. I didn't even know he had that product. So super stoked to try that out and make a paddleboard. So that'll be coming soon, and I guarantee you I will catch a wave with that paddleboard.
Dude, I cannot wait to see that. Hopefully I can be there and film it. That'd be fun.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that the worlds have clashed in this, because I want to jump forward again to YouTube, because you've been part of this community for a long time. And I'm very excited because of my current role when it comes to the content creation team lead. We're going to be making a ton of content for for our channels.
Yes.
And what would be some advice that you'd give to someone like me? And then what would be some advice that you would give to, say, if one of your kids wanted to start their own YouTube channel about something that they were passionate about? Because I bet it'd probably be similar advice.
You're good at this, man. You're good questions. You're smart, Caden.
Thanks. I'm not asking these questions for you to compliment me. I'm genuinely curious.
I've done a number of podcasts, and your questions are all awesome. They're on point, and you're gonna get a huge amount of gold nuggets because you're asking people these things. But what should you do? Number one, think of your audience first. Think about what your audience needs, not what you need.
Okay.
What's the purpose of this podcast? How is it going to help your audience, and where are you going to place that? This gets placed after your audience knows the information you're teaching them is absolutely legitimate. And then the podcasts that we do typically go out to our tribe, the people who are in it for the long haul, that love our product, love our business, love our brand. Then they want to hear the deep dive. They want to hear, and then the things that you can derive out of these kind of conversations, being a fly on the wall. If I could be a fly on the wall in some people's offices, you know what that's worth, man. So this is fantastic. But I would say, think about your audience. What's the best shot for your audience? They want to see exactly what you're doing and when. And when you start thinking about the person on the other end of that lens, they will watch because you're giving them the thing they're exactly wanting. And our goal was, how can we help people not have to get on a plane, pay money, and come take a physical class?
Right.
What if they can't afford that? Let's give them everything they need from their living room to try this. And so that's my first piece of advice. And second piece of advice would be punch perfectionism in the face, man. You know, overnight success takes 10 years. So don't think about being perfect. It's going to paralyze you, give you analysis paralysis. You're never going to get anywhere. You need to learn from each video, get better, and leave those on your channel. If you go back to my channel, you'll realize Zig Zigler did not help me present because we sucked at it, man. But it's just doing it over and over again.
Right.
And then read every single comment, because a lot of your comments, they're going to be massively negative. You can get pissed off and get angry at that feedback, or you could take it as, all right, what can I learn from this guy who says I suck at this, and listen to him,
Right?
Because he's probably right.